Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Jahanzeb Khan and you are welcome to APS online learning system. Students, it's your 6th lecture and today we are going to start with the new unit number 5, gravitation. Before going ahead, we have a recap. In previous lecture, you were taught about states of equilibrium. There were 3 states of equilibrium: stable equilibrium, unstable equilibrium, and neutral equilibrium. Stable equilibrium says a body is said to be in stable equilibrium if after a slight tilt it returns to its previous position. Means कि tilt करने के बाद बॉडी वापस अपनी previous condition में आती है. And after tilting, you have to remember its center of gravity rises. In unstable equilibrium, it says if a body does not return to its previous position when set free after slightest tilt, means कि body अपनी previous position में वापस नहीं आती. And in this form, after tilting, the center of gravity lowers. Neutral equilibrium says a body remains in its new position when it is disturbed from its previous position. Means after disturbance, the body retains its new position, but in this case, the center of gravity of the body does not change. ना तो rise करेगा, ना low होगा. Then you were taught about stability and position of center of mass. In this topic, we discussed that how we stabilize the bodies by lowering their center of mass. So let's start with our first topic today, that is the force of gravitation. Definition says a force due to which every body of the universe attracts every other body. Means in this universe every two objects are attracting each other, and the force by which they are attracting each other is called the force of gravitation. Students, about the force of gravitation, Newton presented a law which is called law of gravitation, and this law says every body in the universe attracts every other body with a force which is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of distance between their centers. This definition will be cleared when we will derive the relation. So suppose we have two objects, two bodies having mass 1 and mass 2. The forces between these two bodies are indicated by F and minus F. This minus F is due to the opposite direction. The distance between them or their centers is written by D. Now we are going to derive the relation. According to the law which says the force is directly proportional to the product of their masses, means कि दोनों ऑब्जेक्ट्स के मैसेज जितने ज़्यादा होंगे और उनका प्रोडक्ट जितना ज़्यादा होगा उनके दरमियान लगने वाली फोर्स भी ज़्यादा होगी. एंड इफ़ द प्रोडक्ट इज़ लेसर देन द फोर्स विल आल्सो बी लेसर. दिस फोर्स इज़ इन्वर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द स्क्वायर ऑफ द डिस्टेंस बिटवीन देयर सेंटर्स. मीन्स कि जितना डिस्टेंस दोनों बॉडीज़ के दरमियान ज़्यादा होगा उनकी फोर्स उतनी कम होगी. When we combine these two equations, we get a new relation, that is F is directly proportional to m1 m2 and inversely proportional to square of distance. And you know, when we remove this proportionality sign, we have to put equation and a constant. Here students, this capital G is called proportionality constant. It's also called universal constant of gravitation, and its value is 6.673 into 10 raised to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kilogram square. here, students, a question comes in our mind that if there is a force between every two objects in the universe, then why don't we feel that? The answer is, you can see the value of gravitational constant is very low. This minus 11 indicates that the value of G is too small. So that is why, due to the small value of gravitational constant, we do not feel the force. Then students, we have a topic which is law of gravitation and Newton's third law of motion. We are going to see that what is the relation or comparison between these two laws presented by Newton, that is law of gravitation and Newton's third law. Students, you have been taught earlier that to every action there is always an equal but opposite reaction. That is the definition of Newton's third law of motion. Now we are going to see, is there any similarity between this definition and the law of gravitation? Students, you see there are two objects, M1 and M2. M1 exerts a force on M2 and M2 also exerting a force on M1. If we consider that the force of M1 is an action and the force applied by M2 is the reaction, and you can also see the direction of these two forces is also opposite. So that's why we can conclude that the law of gravitation is consistent with Newton's third law of motion. Now let's solve an example which is according to or related to Newton's law of gravitation. This example says we have two lead spheres having mass 1000 kg each, and these are kept at the distance of 1 meter. We are going to find the gravitational force between these two. The masses of M1 and M2, as these two are identical, so both the masses are same. The distance between their centers is 1 meter. So by putting formula, that is Newton's law of gravitation, we have F equals to G M1 M2 divided by d square. Now by putting values, first we put the value of gravitational constant, then M1 M2 and the square of the distance. Students, if we take scientific notation of these two values, then 10 raised power 3 and 10 raised power 3, it becomes 10 raised power 6. You know, the exponential notation is solved with exponential notation, so this value remains same, and when 10 raised to the power minus 11 is solved with 10 raised to the power 6, the answer becomes 10 raised to the power minus 5. So finally we came to know that gravitational force of attraction between the two lead spheres will be 6.673 into 10 raised to the power minus 5 Newton. And finally, it's time to give you your assignment, your homework. Students, you are going to solve related MCQs which are related to today's topic. In exercise, question number 5.2, 5.3, 5.8 and 5.9. Numerical problems 5.1 and 5.2. These questions you are going to write in your neat notebooks, and as soon as the school reopens, your assignments and homeworks will be checked. So students, it was the conclusion of today's lecture. I hope you have understood. Thank you very much. Stay safe and healthy. Allah Hafiz.